Hi everyone, this is section 5.4 and it is the last section that you will be learning in this class. Woohoo! Okay, so I have to teach you this method called FOIL, and I already taught you how to multiply binomials just with distributive property. I'm not greatly excited about FOIL, but it seems our book is. So I'm going to teach this to you. And the FOIL method is actually the exact same order as distributive property. So it's kind of funny how that works out. But basically, it's like this. We multiply the first two terms, that's the f, in each binomial. So that's going to be y squared. Let me scoot that down because I'm going to be drawing these lines. Y squared. Okay. And then, excuse me, the next part of this is O, and that stands for the outer terms. So I'm going to multiply y times 4. So that's plus 4y. I stands for the inner terms. So that's going to be, I'm going to take these off as I go. Inner is going to be these two terms, right? The ones that are in the next to each other, kind of in the parentheses. So that's a negative 12y. And last would be the two terms that are last in each set of parentheses, and that's negative 48. And we end up with y squared minus 8y minus 48. So you see that's the very same order that I taught you with distributive property, right? Distribute the y to the y in the 4, distribute negative 12 to the y in the 4, and you end up with the very same thing. Okay, so here we go with FOIL method again. All right, so I'm going to multiply my first terms, 6y squared, and then I'm going to multiply my outer terms, which is 3y times negative 7, so negative 21y. I'm going to multiply my inner terms, so that's going to be negative 10y. And last would be negative 5 times negative 7. Be real careful here with your signs, right? Because they're both negative, that makes positive 35. And then we have some like terms. In the two middle terms, we need to simplify by adding them, or subtracting, however you want to look at that, right? They're two negatives. So negative 31y plus 35. Okay, so you just have to remember the acronym FOIL. First, outer, inner, last. Okay, so on this one, this looks a little different because it has a 2 out front. We're just going to keep the 2. And then in the parentheses, I'll put what we're multiplying by, right? First terms, x times 2x would be 2x squared. Outer terms, x times negative 9, so that's negative 9x. Inner terms, negative 11 times 2x, so that's going to be negative 22x. And then last we have negative 11 times negative 9, and that's going to be plus 99. Sorry about the going back and forth on these slides. When I lay my hand down, I often end up advancing, and I haven't found anything to take care of that yet. So we just have to deal with it. I have to deal with it on every class I teach. Okay, so keep the 2. We're going to simplify in the parentheses. So now we have 2x squared minus 31x plus 99. And then we will distribute the 2 because we're still multiplying, so we need to multiply by 2. So I get 4x squared minus 62x plus 198. All right. Next. So these are basically formulas on how we can square a binomial. And you guys, I'm just going to tell you the truth. Many of my students, even in intermediate algebra, have a hard time using these formulas. So even though I'm going to show them to you, you can absolutely just write these out 2 times and multiply, and you'll get the same answer. So it doesn't matter if you learn the formula. It is kind of handy down the line when you are in 110 because it makes it really fast to multiply. Okay, so here's how this works. In my formula, a plus b squared, I get a squared plus 2ab plus b squared. Well, that probably just sounds really weird to you anyway. But basically, x is my a, and 7 is my b. since it has a plus, we use the first formula. So we're going to take the a squared, which is x, plus we have a 2 times a times b, plus b squared. Now, we just simplify all this, so we end up with x squared plus 14x, just multiply 2 times 7 times x. 7 times 7 is 49, right? Because if we're simplifying that, we're going to multiply 7 times 7. All right, in the next one, a is 7x and b is -3. Now we're using the second formula because it has a minus. So it's 7x squared minus 2. Now we're taking care of the minus right here, so when I put the 3 on here, I'm not going to put the negative again. A, 7x, b, 3, plus b squared, and whether I put the negative or the positive, it's still going to just be a positive number when we square them. Okay, so we have 49x squared minus 42x, and -3 times -3 is +9. Now, like I said, you can just write these out and multiply them without using the formula. And so I'm going to talk you through it one more time. So if you write them out 2 times, write 7x minus 3 times 7x minus 3, you get the same answer. On this next one, I'm going to tell you the shortcut that I take. All right, so I take the first term, 6y, and I square it. All right, so I have 6y squared is 36y squared. Then I take 6y, the first term, times the second term, and then I have to remember times 2. So that's going to be negative 12y times 2 is negative 24y. Negative 2 times negative 2 is 4. So here's how I did this. I squared the first term. I took the first term times the second times 2. The last term times itself, and that's what you get. If you write this out and multiply, using FOIL or distributive property or whatever, then you get the same thing, right? 6y times 6y is 36y squared. And then I have 6y times -2, so that's -12y. Then distribute the -2, so that's -12y and plus 4. So you see we end up with the very same thing. And like I said, it's fine to just write it out like I showed you here and multiply. And we got the same answer as before. Okay, now this is a shortcut I definitely want you to take. Notice on this, when I multiply, these are called conjugates. One has a plus, one has a minus. Then I just have to multiply a times a and b times negative b, and I get the answer every time because the middle terms will be eliminated. So I'm going to show you on this first one why it is this way. So I'm going to multiply b times b, b times -3, +3 times b, and 3 times -3. Well, that simplifies to simply b squared minus 9. Notice what happens to your middle terms. This will happen every time you're working with two binomials that are the same except the signs between them. And it's a shortcut, so it's nice to take a shortcut. So on this next one, I'm going to take 5x times 5x and -1.3 times -1.3. Well, that happens to be, I know 13 times 13 is 169. So when you do this, you just have to figure out where your decimal goes. And since there's one place after the decimal on each one, we would have 2 places after the decimal, but I believe on this you have 0, right? So if I multiply 1.3 times 1.3, I get 169, and I have to have 2 places. Oh yeah, there are 2 places after the decimal, so it's 1.69. Now, you can just use a calculator to multiply those. Oh, that's not a plus, it's a minus, you guys. Right? Because we're always, this last term, we're always multiplying a negative times a positive. All right, well, I'm going to stop here and then I'll have a second video for this lesson.